Welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. This is Truth, Freedom, and Sophia with your host, Sophia. Shout out to super producer Cindy Ashby. All of our shows are live at onthewakeupradio.com. You can also catch replays on SoundCloud, Google and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can follow on Instagram, Facebook at On the Wake Up Radio. Also support us with PayPal/onthewakeupradio@gmail.com. You can find our videos on otwtube.com, which is our new platform. And you can also donate through Cash App on $ on the Wake Up Radio. Find us at onthewakeupradio.com. Check us out. Don't forget to go to our website also, otwtube.com, our free speech content. Sign up today. Call in tonight for any questions, 844-818-4433. Thank you. And tonight's show, we have guest Wheeler's Wild Ones coming on at 9 o'clock. We're going to be talking about lifestyle, mind, body, spiritual wellness, how to eliminate daily toxins from really invading your life, and all that great stuff. So while we're waiting, tonight I am burning some sweetgrass. I like to burn sweetgrass when I am trying to kind of invite in higher energy, positive spirits, also cleanse my aura. So I really like to burn sweetgrass for that. And considering we are talking about eliminating toxins today and all that, I'll discuss all my little tools that I use to help me focus my intent and eliminate and live a less toxic life. So when we say the word toxic, let me see. I am referring to your toxic load and also your spiritual toxicity. Your toxic load is the accumulation of toxins and chemicals in our bodies that we ingest from a variety of sources, including the environment, the food we eat, the water we drink, and the personal care and household products we use. So a lot of chemicals and things a lot of people don't know, which I just recently kind of over the last 5 years became really, really aware, really how invasive and how loaded with toxins most everyday products are, including face lotions, everyday moisturizers, toothpaste, you name it, it's got a toxic component to it. And I really started to be a more cleaner person with being more aware of what goes into the product. You realize that when a label says all natural, that definitely doesn't even mean close to all natural, organic, or anything like that. So you have to be really careful. Try and get affiliated with the chemicals that are in certain products that you use and see if you can find a better alternative, because that's really important. Remember, when they say to you, oh, yeah, but it's only, 0.5 milligram, however they measure it, of aluminum in there. Yeah, that might be so. But if you're using a product every single day, that stuff builds up in your system. And if you're putting stuff into the system, and if you're not living healthy enough to eliminate that stuff out of the system, your system is going to become overloaded and it's going to become toxic, and it's going to start producing symptoms and ailments and all kinds of chain reaction things to happen in the body and within your spirit. Stress alters your brain chemistry, and that also has a lot to do with this. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things, tools to use to de-stress your life. So the definition of a toxin, for me, I would say, is a harmful substance produced within living cells or organisms, or synthetic toxins created by artificial processes like GMOs, and any poisonous substance I would consider a toxin. I'd call it a toxin. For me, I believe that the program of this world we're living in is a toxic one. Everything we are surrounded with is toxic, including even the way our musical instruments are toned, which is a really interesting conspiracy, not theory, I'm going to say conspiracy fact, that I've been digging into recently about the 440 hertz tone that all of our instruments and all of our music is basically toned to. And it's supposedly a form of musical cult control. And I'll get into that a little later so I don't get sidetracked. So I believe that this world that we're living in is producing severe toxicity in all aspects of life, mind, body, and soul. They are producing victim mentality, and these are just toxic ways of thinking, toxic ways of behaving that the program from this toxic world we're living in is producing. Victim mentality, trying to change other people versus trying to change yourself, resisting what is, having expectations or at least unrealistic expectations. For me, expectations are always going to be an experience killer because they don't allow you to truly be present, absorb what is, and appreciate what is because you are putting some sort of ideal on it or expectation on it. And when it doesn't happen that way, even if it happened so beautiful and magical, because it didn't meet your expectation, it becomes toxic. You become toxic in your thinking. Feeling a need to prove you're right, worrying what others think, being one track minded, obsessing or preoccupied with the future, thinking a lot about money, and money and happiness, if those two kind of seem to be in the same line in your life, and being stuck in the past and allowing it to determine your future. These are all things that I see kind of everyday toxic ways of living, toxic ways of thinking that everyday good people are stuck in. They're stuck in because they don't have real, authentic people giving them real, authentic tools that help them really eliminate this type of stuff from their life, from their thinking, and from their interactions. All of these new age programs really tick me off because they don't at all get to the essence of what they're trying to supposedly accomplish. All they do is most people, most of what I see, in the mainstream, it just seems like they give you mantras and things to say and do and give you like rituals and little things to do without really explaining or telling you about what you're trying to accomplish within yourself without focusing really on that individual aspect of it. Because all in all, we are individuals and we all have individuals' wants, needs, and desires. And if the goal is to get harmony between your mind, body, and spirit, you have to get in touch with your authentic wants, needs, and desires. And you can't do that if you're trying to follow a model because you think it's going to produce happiness. For instance, a lot of people get stuck on, like, say a program, even if it's a holistic program where, they give you a daily mantra. Well, whenever someone's given me some mantra, I never say it the way it's told me. I reword it the way that I feel is true to me and what my intention is. And that's the big key. That's the big difference, I think, in a lot of these new age models is they give you a lot of, like buzzwords and good kind of little foundational things, but they don't get to the heart of the essence, and that is on purpose. Whether these people know it or not, they're following also their own type of, say, gurus or programs that they're following. And it's all a system. And what we are trying to accomplish is breaking systems of any type of control, even spiritual control. You want freedom and you want to authentically express yourself. You can't do that if you're always following models. Now, again, it's not saying that any of these things are bad. It's about, though, having an awareness and a consciousness and an aspect to it that allows you to truly link into the essence of your intentions and what you're truly trying to accomplish. And what my friends Dylan and Shiloh, through their company Whalers Wild Ones, they offer a type of individualized advice kind of program where they can tell you what things to eat, what foods to add more of, what things to drink, and so on and so forth, according to what you're trying to accomplish within your own life. But again, it's about the mind, body, soul connection. And how do we do that? By breaking false thinking, by breaking things like ideals and expectations, and really focusing on your intentions and being able to authentically express them. Now, a long time ago, I started my own little advice page called Harmony Healing. And I actually wrote down a little kind of foundational model for people if they're trying to get that mind, body, soul connection, that harmony between your authentic self and this physical world we're living in and the spiritual self that has to navigate this world. So, I mean, a lot of people do have a foundation, but if you're having a hard time building a foundation, a lot of what helps build a spiritual aspect of yourself and get you connected is that foundation you lay down. So for a mind-body connection, I think it's very important to find your flow. So getting moving can offer same benefits as meditation if you put intention to it. So people that have a hard time, say, slowing down and really just laying there and connecting in silence and in peace, you can go for a walk. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's all of these things that really block us from opening up and creating our own spiritual practices that are unique and molded to us and help us truly grow authentically and as ourselves. So if you have a hard time being still, being quiet, do things actively. I personally can go from one extreme to the other. It depends on what kind of week I'm having with my children and whatnot. And I do lots of different things. Sometimes I will go for a walk. But when you're walking with the intention of connecting to your higher self, to your spiritual self. So when you're doing that, just be focused on that and carry that intention with you. Make sure when you're breathing, that's what you're breathing in. You're breathing that intention, and that will come easier and easier. And you will find the more you do that, like that's just one alternative, that it does become easier to hear that other voice. For me, sometimes, because I have children and I can't just go say, see you later, I'm going for a walk, or see you later, I'm locking the door and going in my bed for an hour and just, laying there in peace. I can't do that a lot of the time. So I use tools like, say, this. And I will go in my room and you can do this. I do this with my kids. I have a bunch of these and I will just and play with it. And it really does help calm you down, relax the mind, because again, going back to that conspiracy I mentioned earlier about the 440 hertz frequency, which all the instruments are toned to, our brains need that. They need that kind of that vibrational reset. And these types of tools help with that. So again, when you're trying to calm down, it's important to really find your flow. Find the thing that helps you become centered. Find the thing that helps you connect to your higher self. And it doesn't have to be that, doesn't have to look like what everyone else does, as long as it's authentic and your intention is at the forefront of whatever it is you're doing. It will help. It will work. You have to pay attention to basic things, like how you're taking care of yourself. Honestly, a lot of women I notice have this problem. We get so wrapped up and focused on things, and then we forget to really take care of basic things. And I'm not talking about just showering. Like, it could be basic things for some people. It could be showering. It could be hygiene for some people. It could be eating right. It could be drinking enough water. So it's a broad spectrum. That's why it's important to do inventory on yourself. Figure out what basics you are neglecting within your own self. If you're feeling depleted of energy, if you're feeling like you're a little depressed, or you're just not feeling like yourself, you're feeling, feelings of anxiousness, like you feel like you could be happier and healthier in your life. Do you feel like you should? On full. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. So are you hoping for a better mind body spirit connection? Does your body ache? Do you have daily pain? Do you have daily thoughts of anxiousness, feelings in your body that don't feel right, stomach pains, stomach problems, anything like that? Something is off balance. Something is out of harmony. And if you are a person living in today's world, more than likely you suffer from something like that on a daily basis, or all of these on a random day every so often. But it's not about being perfect and getting you to where you're every day feeling perfect and always in harmony. It's about having a baseline of harmony and health and understanding your body, your emotions, and your spiritual self, so that when you're encountering things that are toxic or you have to, take in something toxic, or you know how to eliminate it, whether it be physically in your body or emotionally and spiritually. We all end up in toxic situations sometimes, and it's about discernment. It's about knowing who you are. And this is what I feel as star seeds, as light, because light work is what our mission is. Our mission is to counter this model, this toxic program that the world is pushing on everybody, and has been for at least 100 years now, or way longer. But you know what I mean? Actively in our culture, that's what I feel like our mission is. It's to counter that, because it is a toxic program. It's one that disconnects you from higher self, from source, from your soul. It's one that doesn't want you to have emotional awareness and intelligence, doesn't want you to have individualism. Those are all things that are toxic, either toxic to your physical body or toxic to your soul, your aura. Now, if you don't know what an aura is, your aura is an energetic electromagnetic field or atmosphere that surrounds every living being. This field appears as colored lights radiating around the body. Everyone's aura is different in size, shape, and color, just like a fingerprint. Your aura says a lot about your overall quality of your physical being, your mental, emotional, and spiritual health as well. And that's important to know, because what we need to know is there's another toxin that we need to become aware of. And this is electromagnetic toxins, which we are now becoming completely surrounded by on a heavier basis every single day. We have toxins in the air, in the sky. We have toxins in the water, fluoride, which acts like Prozac on your brain, invented by Nazis to make the people docile. It's a bad situation, but it's not a situation we don't have control of. It's not a situation we can't take the reins with. We just all have to become accountable in our lives. We have to, and again, if you're a person who's watching this, more than likely you're searching for a soul connection. You're searching for, that connection with a soul family, or divine self. So more than likely, you want harmony. You want balance within the body and the mind, body, and spirit. You want a clear mind, healthy body, happy spirit, open heart, open mind. You want those things. This world pushes things on you and pushes your mind into thinking and not in alignment with your true self and your true wants, needs, and desires. It pushes you into thinking that suppresses all of those things I just mentioned, all of it. And so it's so important to connect with really good, authentic people who can give you good advice, no matter what avenue you're looking for: health, spiritual, or just overall, having a connection. At all times, though, we should be able to go within and find the answers. We really should. And that's the ultimate goal. So again, it's not about being perfect. It's about knowing where you're lacking, knowing where you're needing something extra, or more attention, or more love, because it ultimately is about love. If you are lacking somewhere within your spirit, your soul, your body, your physical, emotional health, somewhere in you needs that to be loved more. And it could stem from childhood. It could stem from something that happens in your past. And again, emotional health, and this is why I love working with the chakras, and I believe in the chakras, is because emotional awareness, the emotional awareness you gain from learning about your chakras and connecting them, you learn about your body. So when your body's responding to something a certain way, you can connect the emotion that's attached to that part of your body. And then you can become more aware of yourself, how you are, how you're feeling, how you react to things. And then you can set up parts in yourself spiritually that will prevent you from being reactive, that will allow you to respond internally to whatever it is your emotion is calling you to respond to. It's really important to know that. And these things sometimes when I'm saying them feel drawn out and long, but I have to say them because it's important. Your emotions drive a lot of your physical and spiritual health. Your emotions really do. That is, to me, the link between the two is your emotions, because your emotions are not something you can tangibly say. I mean, tears, come out of your eyes. That's probably a physical result of emotions. But other than that, the physical result of emotions are your body either becomes stressed and responds with inflammation and sickness, or it shuts down in some way, or if you're aware of the emotion, you spiritually will grow. You will level up because you will become aware of an emotion. You will dissect it if you care to grow from it. And you either, again, you grow from it, you confront it, you learn from it, or you just get stuck in it. Those are the only two options with your emotions. And most people have had a lot of emotional trauma inflicted on them as children. I would say on a regular basis, a majority of people grew up in emotionally damaging households, not on purpose, not because of lack of love, but because of bad programmings from the worldly system that is mostly now influencing people's way of thinking, their perception about reality, and just how they engage with other beings. So, if you're in harmony with your mind, body, and spirit, you will know you will know what part of your body or emotional body is calling attention and love to itself, and then you will properly give that love and attention to that emotional or physical part of your body that needs it, which is why I love essential oils so much. Because for me, essential oils have given me the tool to focus my intent. So when I grab an oil for my physical, say, neck that might be in pain, I am intentionally loving my body. That oil is the conduit and giving me a tool to express that love on my body. And I'm also putting my chi energy into it. I'm putting my life force into it. And I'm giving the body what it is asking me. Most people don't respond properly to their emotional needs or their physical needs at all. Because why? Because it probably doesn't serve whatever is convenient in the moment. So they've learned and programmed themselves, and their neural pathways have become programmed to do this organically, natural, automatically, to shut down certain emotions when they're inconvenient for you to feel them. And that will lead up to a repressed, overstressed, suppressed type of person, which will usually react in the body through inflammation, disease, autoimmune disease, pain, depression. Did you know that what you eat is just as important as what you put in your mind? That 95% of your serotonin is actually produced in your gut. That is a fact that when I learned that, my mind was blown, and that propelled me into becoming way more aware of my gut health. Way more aware of my gut health. Because what you eat, like so your intestines basically have little pores in them that when you eat food and so your mouth, your saliva has the enzymes that basically aid in most of your digestion. They say happens in your mouth through the enzymes. So how you chew your food, super important. Not only is it important to be healthy and eat the right foods, but it's important to know properly how to eat, how to swallow, how to chew, how to breathe. These are basic things that no one ever teaches you. You have to learn these as an adult if you care enough to really look into them. And if you don't, you're going to go to an early grave, live to 85, 90, when you could live to 120, 130 if you only knew how to breathe properly and chew properly. Imagine that. I don't want to be saying that. I just don't. So I think it's important. All these little aspects of people say, oh my God, it's so stupid. You have time for that? Get a life. Oh my God, get a life? I have a life. I care about my life, which is why I care about these things. Sorry. But anyways, so chewing your food enough is super important, but your intestines have little pores. So when the food's traveling through there, the nutrients are going to be absorbed to those pores. If you're eating toxic food, archontic food, when I say archontic food, I mean food that is not fed by God's natural sunlight and nutrients. Food that is constructed, that's genetically modified, or preservatives, full of preservatives. That's archontic food. That's constructed food. That's basically counterfeit food. Serves no nutritional purpose. So when you eat archontic food, you are building up toxins in your body, which will line up against your intestinal walls. And then when you do eat healthy, if you haven't detoxed or if you don't do daily things to eliminate that toxin out of those toxins out of your body won't even be able to absorb proper nutrition when you do eat healthy, because the toxins have built up, have clogged your nutritional pores that absorb in through the intestines, And it's just keeps building up and building up and building up. So when Dylan and Shiloh come on, we're going to talk about all of that stuff, how to eliminate toxins from the body. I like to focus on spiritual toxicity, how to stay spiritually clean and clear, how to keep your aura clear, and being healthy inside has a lot to do with that. But emotional health is a super important aspect of spiritual health. Emotional health meaning not ignoring emotions, not saying I don't want to feel this, or I wish I wasn't feeling this, or if I acknowledge I'm feeling this, then that would make me have to admit a certain aspect of myself that I don't want to admit is alive or is expressing itself. These are all aspects we have to take inventory on and say, I'm willing to confront all of that now. I'm willing to drop the ego, which is the constructive, archontic self that is created through the false programming of this world, through the split that they do to us through the education and media and culture. So the ego that tells you that emotion that judges you, basically. Your ego is a part of you that judges you, which prevents you from growing. Because if you're judging yourself for feeling an emotion, for instance, if you are feeling jealous and you judge yourself for feeling jealous and you're like, oh my God, it's only bad people feel jealous. You'll never really authentically acknowledge that emotion and really understand what it is that's triggering you to be jealous, or the why. The why is the most important aspect of everything. The why you do, the why you feel. That is what is important. That is what will make you level up spiritually and emotionally, is once you figure out the why and then you do something about it. See, being spiritually clear, being spiritually healthy has a lot to do with action, has a lot to do with not just knowing, has a lot to do with what you do with the knowledge, the knowing, what you do with the knowing. That is where your spiritual self truly expresses itself and becomes in harmony with the mind and the body. Brain, heart, gut union. That's truly where the harmony comes in, because the spirit wants to grow. In fact, it's our birthright as beings. It is your birthright to grow spiritually here on this earth. That is an aspect of why we're here. And these overlords, these archons, these principalities, and now these losers, actual people who want control and power, who are under this influence, this evil force, they do not want a spiritual awakening. They do not want spiritually evolved people, because if you are spiritually evolved, you cannot fall for their schemes. You cannot be reactively driven by their propaganda or whatever craziness that they're perpetuating out there into the system, into the culture. You will be impervious to it, because you will be able to be, and my favorite thing to say, in the world but not of it, which means you can function and you can navigate, but you can discern which things need to warrant your time, effort, and energy. And that's the problem, balancing the energies. Most people put so much energy and effort into things that result in nothing, add nothing to you, add no value to your life. But yet the task of having to become conscious and be present to, be present enough to eat healthy, well, that's just something they'll do next week, or they just can't. They're just not like that, or this is just the way they are. That is bad, faulty thinking, and you can always rewire your brain if you want to. The want has to be there, and if you want to, you will find ways to figure out what's best for you. And that is the job. That is what we're all here to help for. All of us star seeds and light workers, we're all here to help with that aspect, giving each other advice, helping fill the different voids that we're all, like, hey, I'm really good with spirit, but I'm not really good with the emotional. I'm really good with food, but I'm not good with emotional. We're all here to help each other grow and build off each other. And I believe it's a theory I live by, that when we're born here, we're born spiritually fulfilled. Oh, here's my guest. So here's my guests, Shiloh and Dylan from Wheeler's Wild Ones. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Going?
It's going. I've just been yapping away. Toxins and, spiritual toxicity and emotional toxicity and then physical toxicity, which is you guys' specialty. So I'm going to let you guys kind of give a little intro, if you don't mind, of what you do, and you can take it from here.
Awesome. So we really started our company from trying to remove from toxins and chemicals, and through that's kind of been our beginning, was trying to search through our food and what was in our bath products and just everything. As a kid, we knew was just in our products, but they were all, it's to keep it fresh, or it's a preservative, or it's just in there. And so we really, I guess, kind of dove into asking those questions about why those specific things are in there and researching what they actually do to you. And that's kind of where we really dove in and kind of started this whole journey for us. And over the last couple of years, we've decided to kind of turn it into a company and try to, offer what we've learned, what's really helped us in getting away from all these toxins and these chemicals, and try to teach people, basically the same thing that helped us through our journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and definitely like reactions to chemicals too. Being my last semester of college, while I was finishing up, I was going to campus, and I was wondering like why every time I was writing, like doing my assignments or writing on paper, like my hands would just break out in the worst hives ever. And I literally couldn't like even write on paper without that happening. And so I had to like put stuff over paper so that wasn't going to happen, because it would be the worst pain in the world. And then, you go to the bathroom to wash your hands, but the soap has just as bad of ingredients in it too. And it's just so counterproductive. So you're just sitting there like at school or at work, and you're just kind of like, I'm in so much pain. I don't even really know how to go on with the day too. And then coming home and then not really able to find relief otherwise too, because there's so many chemicals in so many products and so many different names and so many different just things hidden to make sure that you don't figure out what's all in your products and how it affects you. And then, you go to the doctor to try to get help with that. They provide medication, and now you're kind of in that loop too. And the medication not all the time is really doing too much to benefit your body as well, or your brain either. So it's kind
of have toxins and heavy metals.
Right.
It's awful.
One of the main things, it got worse the more we would react to chemicals. It would actually get worse the further we'd get away from them. It was like we'd been immune to them for so long. Once we started removing more and more and more, when we'd be exposed to them, that's our body would actually break out and react. And that we believe that's our natural reaction, but we've just gotten so used to these chemicals, and our bodies are kind of complicit, and so you don't really necessarily react. And so same thing with me, my hands would start breaking out and start blistering, and from when I get exposed to chemicals. And that never happened before until we actually started getting away from them. And then we'd use some of these products, and we'd be like, man, these are terrible, because we're actually seeing the symptoms that we believe like everybody has, but we're just so used to them in our environment. Our bodies have just learned to adapt rather than getting away from them.
Hold on. You broke up a little bit, and you're frozen now.
Oh no.
So.
Can you hear us?
You guys are just frozen. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Can you hear us at all?
It's coming in a little bit muffled, like choppy.
Can you hear us at all? Are we clear at all? You're a little broken up too.
Oh, I'm choppy? Oh, she said it's me. Okay. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I want to bring up a good point you made about the cleaner your body was and further away from toxins you got, the more reactive your body got from it became to them. And that's what people don't realize. They think that they're healthy because that they're not having reactions to things, or they don't see these symptoms that other people talk about, and they don't realize it's because their body's used to it now, holding in those toxins, and it's not necessarily because they're healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a huge point, and that's just something funny that we would have never noticed that unless we had started getting away, and then we realized how much further we wanted to continue on that path and get away from it, because we could actually physically see the symptoms of it. So
yeah, and also with certain types of medication, I've experienced a ton of anxiety and depression in the past, and getting on the medication, I thought it was further helping me rather than further numbing the issue and removing the reactions that I would most typically have when experiencing certain things. And so it's kind of the same with the food and the ingredients in the food. It's the more you have those chemicals and toxins and you're constantly introducing your body to those things, the further your body's going to be numbing itself and not actually giving you those reactions that are most important for your body to basically hear, or for your brain to pick up on certain things, or to be experiencing life in a healthier way.
Sorry, guys. My connection is, I guess, really poor right now. So I'm listening. You guys can keep talking. You're clear. It's just me.
Okay.
yeah, no worries.
So I'm just trying to figure that out. My connection's bad.
Do you have anything to kind
of? Yeah, and I guess when I met Shiloh, she was on quite a few medications, and that's kind of been. I noticed that she kind of that she didn't need to be on all those medications, because they weren't helping necessarily do anything for her. They were just going against a natural process, and so we worked for a while to individually get rid of different medications. And Shiloh's still the same person. It's just all those negative things that it's just interesting to see that a lot of medication just provides a lot of negative effects, or it's just kind of a band-aid to the bigger problem, and it just it gets worse, and so you keep taking more medication, and then it just just keeps going back and forth, and then it gets to a point where you don't have an option to not take the medication, and it sinks its teeth in a lot deeper the more you have to endure medication. And so that's kind of another thing that we've noticed is it's right in there, the medication, the chemicals, and all that. It's just they're all
big problems that are aiding each other instead of helping either one of the problems individually at all. It just kind of adds into a huge snowball effect, and it just kind of continues the cycle of just repeating the same issues. And the more you add, the more toxicities you add, the more difficulties you're going to be finding with when you are trying to figure out what is helping, what isn't helping. And the more you add, that's just aiding those problems. It's going to be harder to navigate and pinpoint okay, what do I need to get rid of first, and then step away from those problems rather than just keep repeating them with different items.
That's what I really get annoyed with about say new age type things, is they give these cookie cutter things, and we're so individual. Are the things we take in on a daily basis are individual things. Like I don't know how much toxic stuff you are around on a daily basis. Me and like the mainstream establishment never takes those types of things into consideration, and it seems like it's never even talked about, and the awareness of that is not really pushed. And I was saying before you guys came on how even as an adult, like I had to learn how to properly breathe. I had to learn how to properly chew. You have to learn that as an adult, just if you really want to learn about, living healthy and being connected.
Mhm.
That's the zonkers to me. Like those are baseline things, that those are like baseline practices we should be teaching kids young. So, and I feel like the system just doesn't want that. So they do everything in this very, one way, one line, one track thinking, so that when you are feeling, say, an emotion that isn't in line with that, instead of teaching someone to confront it and ask why. So no one asks themselves why they feel the way they feel ever. I've noticed that. No one ever says like, oh, why do I feel this way? They just say, I don't want to feel this way.
Mhm.
So it's about like the why. So if you are having a pain, a consistent pain, say, figure out why and address the why, like you were saying, and don't get so wrapped up in all these everything at once, trying to be perfect. Like people overload themselves.
Mhm.
And then like my aunt actually did that. I was helping her detox her body, and she did all the things I told her to do kind of all in the same week. And she calls me telling me how she has a headache, how she thinks she's dying, how what did I do to her? What did I tell her to do? And what? And I said, well, first of all, I didn't tell you to do all those things. I told you to put 6 drops of lemon oil in your water for a week first, like every day for a week first, to get your body used to, an antitoxin. But anyway, so it was like all at once, and it got her overwhelmed that she just stopped really putting any effort into it. And that really discouraged me, like, about helping her. But I just tell her now every day, just make sure at least drinking water. But a lot of people do that. They want all these results super fast. So
Mhm.
we also like toxic thinking too. It's about adjusting.
And I was going to say, like, it's kind of like the same thing with alcoholism or with taking medications. Like, if you're trying to get out of alcoholism or drinking alcohol, or you're trying to limit the medications that you're on, like, you take all of them away at once, and then you either relapse or you go through withdrawals, or it's like 10 times harder on your body rather than like actually regenerating the things in your body that need to start working again for themselves. And so it's like it hits you. And that's the biggest thing with all the toxins, like in all of the ingredients. It's so hard to get all of them out of your daily essential like list at once, and it's super overwhelming. And so the reason why we kind of started with like soap is because it's like it's the first thing that we kind of started having like main issues with, because once you're introducing those toxins to your body and then you're trying to like get rid of that, you're just adding more if you're not using like good soap. And then with all the events with the just everything happening socially and politically, and with all that happening, we were thinking like soap and self-care cleaning products, that's probably where we should start, because that's what everybody's going to be running to the grocery stores for, because of what's going on. And so it's just like all of it at once. It's the most difficult and most discouraging, like overwhelming thing in the world. And so it's hard for people to step back and go, okay, like just one at a time, because everybody wants to get like completely healthy.
Soap is a great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're right actually about soap being a great place to start. My mom, since I was young, suffered with severe psoriasis. So she was always, buying stuff like from Whole Foods. Well, we went to Wild Oats, that's what it was called back in the day. And so we were always knowing about lauryl sulfates, basically sulfates and soaps and stuff. But that is like the easiest way to start living more clean and feeling like, oh, this is doable, like soap.
Yeah.
And you see a difference. You actually see a visible difference when you use a soap that isn't loaded with all those things that actually are horrible for your skin. Horrible for your skin.
Yeah, and people, it's like it seems almost like just like counterproductive, but people are always constantly like, when something doesn't work, they're like, I'll buy the more expensive, doctor prescribed cream for my skin, or I need all this for my acne. And it's like, stop putting crap all over your skin and chemicals. Like, you need to do something natural. And it's just like, I understand it, but it's just kind of crazy that more people don't know that if you do more natural products, they're going to do you more benefit and get into the the more natural feeling of your body and being more in tune. And every time like something doesn't work, or I just imagine you try all this like acne cream or something and it doesn't work, and then you move on to the next one, and you're not, you're just changing the chemicals. You're not getting rid of them. And so if you just do something more natural or more, and like you said, like the sulfates, like sodium lauryl sulfate, sodium laureth sulfate, all the different sulfates and all the different names they have for them, that's like the huge one. And starting simple with things like that, like you said, I guess one of our main thing was we stopped drinking tap water. That really was, we were drinking tap water, we didn't really care.
Or even like Brita filters sometimes. Like we stopped drinking tap water, and then we went to Brita filters, and then we were like, what is all that like stuff that we see like from the filter in the water? Like that doesn't like look, maybe we should just like start doing distilled. And so we've just completely like taken the steps away and gone like, oh my gosh, like just the difference that it can make.
Yeah.
And that's
no, I agree. Someone said to me, like, I would say like 10 years ago, this is how long it's been since I've drank tap water.
Good.
They were like, oh, Revere has the best water. That's where I live. Like, it's full of, they fluoridate it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I had already had it in my head that fluoride was like a Nazi invention. So I was like, I'm never drinking that again. And I would tell every person I would talk to it about, and no one else seemed to care. Nobody.
No.
And like, that doesn't bother you. It doesn't bother you that something's in your water that you didn't consent to. That is actually like against your brain as a Prozac. Like, so I never drink tap water from then. And now I used to use tap water just for my coffee, but now I use clearly filtered, which is it's a filter that it's like 300 times, I guess, stronger than Brita, say.
Oh wow.
So not even in my coffee. Yeah. So my kids never had it either.
That's good.
They drink essential water.
It's just like crazy. Yeah. Like you say, people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Or it's like, oh, there's tests like against it. But if you read tests from or studies from other countries and not, studies that are in this country, you'll find that the collective of everyone kind of agrees like, yeah, we don't put this in our water because the people are smart enough to hate it if we do. And it's like, why do we continue to add it? We started looking into the actual, just studies of just what it did case by case, all the different things that it did. And there was one day that we just said like, never again. Like we will do whatever we can to not drink that, because it's, and the chlorine that's in the water too. And chlorine's terrible. And when chlorine mixes with certain chemicals in your water and is exposed to oxygen, it releases different chloramines, which are used as, different biological weapons in warfare. They're similar to, and so it's just like the mix of all the stuff that's sitting inside there. And so it's so good to just, and people don't realize that though. And that's one of the simple things. And, that's what really helped us is stepping away from fluoridated water and trying to tackle specific, and you build more knowledge of it over time too. But if you just try to get rid of all the toxins, like it's so overwhelming.
Because they're everywhere. It's impossible. It's impossible. That's why it's just super important to do the little things you can. Mm-hmm. Like even like you were saying about soap, I am what goes on your skin and in your body, to me, if it has to be as close to organic or the natural source as possible, because think about it, when something has chemicals and additives and preservatives, that does not at all share any of your DNA. It doesn't share any of your cellular structure, none of that. So it's actually going to make your body have to do confusing things to fulfill whatever desire it's supposed to do. When something is natural, organic, oils, real whipped butters, soaps, shampoos, they are in union with your skin. They share your DNA. They share all that. So it just supports it. It's so much better. So much better. It's going from support or anti, opposite, non-support,
Mhm.
breakdown.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of like, while you were talking about that, it kind of made me like think of like medication. Like before, like in the past, when I was on a lot of different medications, when I would like react to certain things, like when I would get angry, my first like thing to do would be go for the medication.
Oh, me
And
too. Yeah.
and now it's like, it's been the hardest thing to, when I have like certain reactions in my mind or I feel a certain way, like it's been the hardest thing to like face them head on and go, why am I feeling like this, or why am I reacting this way? But it's been like also the most clear thing without the medication causing all those problems. And it just reminded me of what you were saying, like with the always putting these like foreign, toxic, harmful chemicals onto your body. The more you do that, like the less that your body is actually going to react the way it's supposed to be reacting. And so like when I would get angry before, like my reaction was to go and take medication, when in reality I should have been sitting there and like, why am I angry? Why am I reacting that way? Why am I feeling that way? Instead of just going and doing something else that's just going to add more to the problem than less. The more organic things that you do, the more organic food that you eat, the more that your body is going to react in the ways that it should, instead of just doing all these weird things and causing all these weird problems that you're like, well, how am I supposed to pinpoint like what's going on if I am doing all these random things and introducing all
No,
these harmful substances or chemicals into my body? And it just adds.
100% true. I think that's the cause of what most most inflammation issues people are having. It's not because of actual like issues in the body. It's actually the body's reacting to things that are being put in it that doesn't want in there. And autoimmune disease, a lot of that's linked to um, all these toxins in prescriptions and medications and stuff like that. And like you were saying about the medication, I had the same issue. I had a severe bad neck injury and I suffered for years and years, and I was a bartender. So I was in this horrible cycle of like needing, I was very dependent to just go to work, to do anything. And every like so often the pain would just be worse than it really naturally was. So that the medication made the pain actually more intense than it really was if I was, say, not on any medication, not dependent on that. So it really messes with your body and it messes with your mind. Your brain needs to literally be rewired because, like you said, it's not even just the wiring that taking the medication does to your brain. It's the thought process, the emotional attachment where something happens and that's your go-to versus the confronting whatever it is. So it's important. These are all little important aspects because no matter what you're struggling, whether it is like a medication or just a bad habit, it's habitual because it's wired in your brain.
Yeah, and it's like because we've done it our whole lives too, it's like, yeah, it's a super big habit of just, breaking free of any of those chemicals, breaking free of medication, breaking free of, alcohol or any of the, it's stuff that it's been normalized. It's been, just to not look at the stuff that's in your products. And it's so hard to break those habits because, you don't know you have them. You don't know what these chemicals are actually doing to you. You don't know what these medications are actually doing to you. And so you don't ever think that there's like really a problem there. And so you keep searching for all these other, ideas or other medications or other, problems when you're not actually looking at the problem itself. And so it just, people aren't even aware of some of those habits that they have of just, every single day. And it's when somebody tells you, you're just like, oh, why do I care? Like, it's just, and it's like, you should care. And, and that's what we're trying to do is, teach people like, it really does matter what's in your stuff, what's in your products. And, there's more diseases now, there's more mental disorders now than there ever has been. There's going to be more in 5 years than we've ever seen. Why do we keep adding more diseases, more mental health problems, more disorders, more, and they just keep coming out. It's like it's a game that we just keep adding these new diseases and stuff and going, oh, take this medication, or oh, it's just been so normalized that it's like, oh, whatever, like, and nobody talks about it. And so, yeah, it's a huge problem that,
yeah. And you sit down and you like think you're going to be taking a break when you turn on the TV just to like step away from all the problems that you have. And then you're reminded that like, oh, there's new Clorox bleach wipes out, or oh, there's a new medication to help you with anxiety or depression, or oh, there's all these new things that are like also causing more problems. It's just completely like you don't even think about it because it's always there. The media is always telling you what you need. The media is always telling you what you should and should not be doing, what you should and shouldn't be eating. And then you see it in commercials and television shows, and it just becomes this like complete reality of this is the way you should be doing things. And if you don't, then you're weird.
That's important that you just said that, because that's a big issue. Like I don't have an issue, but in my mind, I like say like, gee, that kind of sucks because it's robbing people. Like people aren't able to really understand the essence of what it means to be healthy when they're driven like that. They're going by like convenient and they're letting other people tell them. So like, I see this trend where now people are going to be eating, like grown meat. I don't even know how that makes sense, but it's like because someone's telling them that's a healthy alternative, they're going to do it versus looking into what that consists of, how it's made, how it's going to really react with the body. Like, I don't like to push on people, like, when I'm on a new kick of something, like, oh, I just started doing this. So I don't like to like push it on people, but I don't understand how people aren't caring of that stuff. So like, how do you say reach out to people or get people to at least, want to start looking into things, living more clean and having more healthy thoughts as well?
I think taking it just in the simplest approach, we've kind of learned, either you really like back it and be like, hey, like there's all this stuff, but we find it's just a lot easier to just to drop those little hints, and because that's what they do in the media with all the buy this soap, or they just flash some little like we just like to drop those subliminal things and stuff that that people aren't really gonna like give them room to like argue or negate it. They just are like hearing you, and so they can you can just bring up like things that, oh, it's it's kind of interesting, I don't know, like I did this study on it, and just planting those seeds, because the roots of these things of not wanting to believe, they're deep, and so you've got to play the field just the same, and so you've got to put in deeper roots, so that those can grow into something bigger, and so that's what we've noticed. People, it's like like you said, like, oh, fluoride, and you're like, you don't care what's in your stuff, and then they're like, no, I don't give it, I don't care, I don't.
It's good for your teeth, and I'm like, oh my god.
And so that's where we like we try to give people like just like info that they can't doubt, and when they read it, they either have to they kind of have to like lie to themselves in a sense, or they have to look at that and go, oh, like that's okay, that's true. And then they might not do anything about it. But then when they keep getting reminded of, all this stuff, because we were drinking tap water and we didn't think really anything of it. And when we finally did the studies, we were like, holy crap, like we are not putting that in our body, because one of the things fluoride does is creates cavities in your bones and in your teeth and other structures similar to that. So it actually can put cavities and makes your bones weaker. And I was like, man, if I'm putting that in my body, like that's literally giving me cavities when they say it doesn't, it fights
It's weird. I know.
and it's this like, and I was like, okay. And I kept research after research from doctors or universities from other countries. And it's like, yeah, like this clearly does some of the worst health effects. Like, and so, but people, you gotta lead people, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You got to give people the info. And if they, but you can't be like, this is bad, this is all this, because they're going to be like, people get so hesitant, and people don't want to agree with you. People want to be,
Right.
And so it really, that's a really good question that you asked that. Like, how do you get people to do it? Because it is hard. And, you just got to play on their level. Like, oh, I don't know. It's just, this, it does do that. And they're like, oh, okay. But when you start showing like the emotion, like, why aren't you, like, you don't, and they're like, no, I don't care. And then, but you've got to make them believe the facts. And then when they can see the facts, they're like, oh, maybe I should start caring, because, I can't negate those things. And so, yeah, that's a rough one for sure.
Important side note about the fluoride too. I don't know her name, but I remember when I looked into this, the lady who was like the head of the pediatric oral something, she did a whole thing on how fluoride was actually doing the opposite of what they claimed. Like, she was really high up there in the dental field, and she lost her job, her position, everything for exposing that. So when I started looking into fluoride actually triggered a lot of stuff for me looking into that, like about the food industry, the Monsanto, all of that. I would have never even looked into GMOs, any of it, if I hadn't looked into the fluoride, because that scared the crap out of me. Like, they put things and the things that are going in my body. And like you even said, just even the quality, the chemicals, the chlorine, all of it. And if anyone ever seen the movie Dark Waters, you'll really want to start investigating what's in your atmosphere, environment.
Okay, Dark Waters. Yeah, we saw a movie called They Live, and it was like really just like eye-opening. Yeah, and so it was kind of like,
that's really what they're doing to like a degree, That's the Hollywood version, but that's like what it is. It's all subliminal stuff telling you to be submissive, obey, and be weak.
And it's like, people are blind, they don't care. And it's like, in that movie, you got to put the sunglasses on them, and it's hard. It's, you got to fight that person to get, they don't want to see, they don't care. They're like, I don't care. And it's like, no, you need to care. And it's, we've just been trained to not care. And yeah, it's funny, like, just how we kind of got into it with getting away from tap water. And then we found She Legit, and that's kind of what we started taking that and taking. And yeah, so we started doing
distilled. I'm on day 2, sorry.
I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, honestly, it's, we read into it first, and we've read all these supplements, and just reading it, you just see everything here and there, and just like, it's like, what supplement this is just all like, like a scheme, or just like whatever. Like, I understand there's some really good supplements, but you see like the big multi-million-dollar industry behind that supplement, and you just see like all the, and it's just so hard to, but I just kept seeing, this She Legit over and again, and just, it was kind of like, oh, whatever, just another. And we actually started reading into it, and it was, like we said, we like to provide info that you can't really negate. Like, the more I'd read into it, it was just kept getting more solid, and I'd look into other sources and just keep getting my information on it. And it was like, wow, this is some like a truly amazing actual, like, natural supplement that's not, I know it's not going to be like processed, or it's not put into, like a pill form, or, it's not watered down, or it's not, just, it's something that, we could really trust in it. And so it was just amazing when we started taking that, and we stopped taking tap water. Like, just that, like, that alone, like, that's like what really like got us to like start thinking. And She Legit's like one of the best like heavy metal detoxes that there really is. It can't be it can't be made in a lab. It can't be chemically reproduced. Some of the chemicals that are inside of it have been synthesized and been, but it takes like extreme equipment and chemical knowledge and chemicals for them to create some of the chemicals that make up Shilajit. And so they can't even, it's to us, we see that as such a connection to God and source, that there is like you guys can't recreate that. Like you guys, it's like we try to recreate it, and it's such a natural product. The Chinese have been using it. It's ancient Chinese medicine. It's been I think used around between 8,000 years ago. They've had evidence of people using this and eating it and taking it, and it's just crazy that it's has so many different chemicals in it that offer specific different things. One of the main things in it is fulvic acid. It's it has Shilajit's the highest concentration of fulvic acid.
You can't find that in any other, like that's a rare vitamin, nutrient or mineral. Is that a mineral or?
Yeah, it's I think it's it's like an acid, and it's really similar to humic acid. It's that found in soils, and it's found in other foods and other things, but the concentration of fulvic acid is so complex that it takes so much to make. It takes so much time and so much biomatter and material for it to be processed. And so Shilajit has the highest concentration of fulvic acid of anything known on the planet. It has almost 50% of the product itself in weight is of fulvic acid, and so it's such a highly concentrated chemical. But what it can do is it can go through your cells, every cell in your body, and bring it the specific nutrients that it needs, and it actually goes in, and the product is it's the fulvic acid is semi-permeable like to your cells, so it'll go in and it'll bring the nutrients into your cells, and then it'll grab the free radicals or the heavy metals or whatever inorganic toxin that's in there, and it'll deposit the nutrients, and it'll take the toxins out, and then you deposit them through your urine or through your sweat, and so it's and that's just one of the chemicals that are made up of it. But it's made by over thousands of years of two continents came together, and it happens in other areas. But when a lot of biomatter gets forced under the earth, it goes through a crazy chemical process of heat and pressure and hundreds of thousands of years of all this biomatter of a diverse range of different species of plants, and all of these different chemicals of plants come together, and it presses together, and millions of microorganisms actually work on it for hundreds of thousands of years. They go and they work, and they convert chemicals into different chemicals, and from those chemicals, other enzymes will make other micronutrients, and it takes so long that it's the chemical formula for it's like extremely just written out. It's insane. And so
I'm excited now. I mean, just when I had read about it, I was like, oh, I'm all in. I'm trying it. And by the way, I actually do just eat it right off my finger. I'm a weirdo. I like the taste of dirt. I don't know.
Then you might love the taste of it then.
I liked it. I made my husband try it too. He was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, it's got a strong flavor to it. But it's like such a earthy, like you can tell it's natural. And that's what I like, is it comes in, just the pure form, and they do lab tests on it, and so it's not, because some deposits of it, you don't know where in the earth it was made or what, if it actually has heavy metals in it. And so you can get some that's contaminated. And if you just buy it from a source that's not reliable, it can, you could be getting like lead, you could be getting mercury, you could be getting cadmium, you could be getting, all that stuff, because they don't test for it. So you don't know if you're even getting it. And so that's why it's really important to get it from a reliable source that has third-party testing, and they have the reports. You can get it sent to you,
with the date on it, all the information,
all the info. And so that's how, we didn't even really
order through your website. You have that, that link, and that's where I ordered mine from, and it comes with all that stuff that you just mentioned, certifications, all the, the chemical composition, it came with all that stuff. So it's wicked excited. I'm wicked excited. Like, how long would you say, like, should I feel like any effects from it? Or I guess really the question I really want to ask, so X that one out, I'm sorry. I'll ask that later. So when we say heavy metal buildup in the body, where does it actually build up? Like around lymph areas, your brain, or just it goes throughout the body? People are probably, I'm asking because I think people are probably wondering, like, what's heavy metal buildup?
Heavy metals can, they can deposit really, really anywhere, and certain chemicals that are in your products or in your food are, in a sense, binders, or they can, they help trap those in. And so a lot of, in your digestive tract, a lot of toxins build up there in your colon. And that's why a lot of people do cleanses to get rid of all those pollutants. But the heavy metals can get trapped really anywhere inside your body, and they might, I need to look into specific if there's a specific spot where they concentrate. But they can, they can build up anywhere, and that's what can cause, certain adverse reactions or different diseases of, it goes, they go into your body and they get trapped in there, and they sit in certain cells or, wherever they can end up, and, they sit there and they agitate, and there's no way to, really get like release. And that's where the inflammation comes in, is having those heavy metals, and, they slow you down and all that too. So it's, I don't know. In my opinion, I find it more about, about getting rid of them, or having something, or getting away from them more, in a way to extract them. So.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, a lot of, heavy metals could be, through, injections into the bloodstream, and that injections in those aspects are, also a lot of where you can
say the word. It's not censored. Yeah.
So yeah, and that's a huge thing. Like, people don't look in the ingredients of your vaccines either, and that's a huge thing that people don't realize. And it's
happened to me, my kids. I didn't know. They just handed me papers after.
Yeah, and that's what I grew up my whole life doing. And so, like, it's just like that kind of thing, and not until you become old enough to, like, start discerning certain things, like same with medications, like ingredients in the medication or what the side effects may do. And you hear it on the TV, like on the commercials, it's like, okay, do I really want to be taking that medication with all those side effects there? Like, and so it's
exactly
with the vaccines, it's just not there's just not really any discernment in those areas, especially because you're being told to do that by a healthcare worker or by somebody in the medical industry.
This is where I struggle with people, where they don't understand why I have such a distrust for the medical establishment. And I explain, it's not the everyday worker. So I don't believe the nurse and doctor are like, hey, we're going to start, poisoning people. That's not what I think's going on. What I think's going on is the people who run and influence the policies and the things they push. Like, that's who's corrupt. And people have a hard time, like, making the connection that it just isn't about health. So that's just not what's running the show. So you really can't trust the integrity of anything coming from there. So you want to just, at the most, take as least amount of pills or medications or over the counter things as possible. How many people take Zantac all day, every day, and now awful things? I was prescribed it when I was younger. I had GERD, gastroesophageal reflux. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice a little bit. But I stopped. I would suffer. I had an esophagus of an 80-year-old woman at 13 years old because of erosions and acid. It was so bad. And I just literally changed my diet, changed when I was eating, changed a lot of different things. Alcohol added a lot to it older on in life. So yeah, I had to, drink. I don't drink in like years, so it's not part of my daily life anymore. But I just changed a lot of things, even young, what I was eating. I ate like junk food a lot. I was get chips, all that. I stopped eating it. And it made a huge difference. So lifestyle change is what you should always try first. I always say that, and then start taking a look at your toxic load, what you're putting into the body that is possibly putting the toxins in, and start little by little, like you said, eliminating different things. Use a new soap, use a new instead of using air sprays, use essential oil, stuff like that. I clean with essential oils. I do everything with essential oils. I haven't used a cleaning chemical in so long. Yeah, makes a difference.
Yeah, no, it does. And I guess I was just thinking, you were saying earlier that it's all convenient, and that's the key word for it, is that they have something. It's way more convenient for you to use those toxic chemical products, and way more convenient for you to just, I've had to, with her, had to work early in the beginning to get her to not use Lysol wipes and I was like, we're not using those things anymore. We're going to find a different, a different cleaner, or, but we've had to work, each at a time, because it's expensive. For one, it's more expensive to get cleaner products, and you can't just go throw away all your products, and you're going to feel like shit if you just get rid of all that stuff, because your body's going to react to not, taking those chemicals. And it's just, they have something, there's always something set up just more convenient that, like, just you're almost going to switch, but it's just, you don't think about it. You're like, oh, I'll just do that. And so I like how you say, like, using essential oils for like cleaning, and, using
for everything
or natural stuff, like, using a rag for something, or, not spraying something down with chemicals, and, knowing that you're cleaning it, but you're adding more chemicals to it, and you're just adding more to the problem. And it's just, that's the thing where people need to really, take initiative to start breaking away from those things, or to realize that those things are true and the chemicals are bad. And then they can start, working piece by piece, and not, stressing out about all this, about all the things, and just being like, oh, I'm just, just disregard it, and then I'll just live with it. And so
well, it's about too, like, getting people to stop compromising like their health or their spiritual health versus, say, convenience, because it's not convenient right now for me to put time into my health, because I'm demanded at work. Like, so it's about also getting people to realign their priorities, like health or money. And then you have to accept, if you're going to put money first, your health's going to decline, or whatever it is that you're putting first versus the thing that you should. And I believe that toxic overload is the cause for almost every daily issue that people are having nowadays, like depression. Your 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. Like, I found that out a few years ago, and that also, like, propelled me to be, for my own kids, what they eat and everything. I've always fed them clean. My son has baby food. My daughter, I made the baby food all homemade, because I was very aware of even organic foods can be processed or have chemicals in them. But so we would want to get people to basically realign their priorities, and then make the decision, so that you're not going back and forth between health, not health, doing toxic, detoxing, not detoxing. So for me, I feel like when I try to, like, go, like, when I struggle with a lot of different things, like, for me, it would be that I would get really, like, ADD about, like, what what thing I wanted to clear out, and you did, and I never really and I wasn't really working on the habits and that type of stuff, the toxic thinking that leads you to kind of putting bad things in your body. So I did 3 different times a reboot of how you're, treating your body, what you're thinking, and all of that. So it's all important, because your body does kind of determine your emotions if you're not putting good things into it. And then your spiritual aspect should understand your emotions and use them as tools to grow and know. So it's kind of like people are stuck between one world or the other, and the worlds need to kind of merge and harmonize.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like you are helping with that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, with different food, different ingredients, a couple years before I met Dylan, I was convinced I want to start eating healthier. And so I started looking into the ingredients in my food, and okay, I want to eat more organic, or I want to stop eating as much processed foods, and it started to get more into this okay, only natural food. And then it became this mind game, and I developed an eating disorder. And so over the last couple of years, it's been a huge process of transitioning back to shutting my mind up and not being as as hard on myself about, I guess, if it's completely organic, or all of the small the small things that can cause you to be more discouraged about eating healthier, and just looking at the ingredients. And that was a huge start for me, was instead of overwhelming myself with all the things that I was eating, or oh, I need to do it all at once, I need to completely get rid of all processed foods at once. It became way too overwhelming. And so stepping back into it and going piece by piece and slowly, it's been less work with my overwhelming my mind, and easier to start the process again and not repeat the same cycle again, because it's a huge mind game, and talking to yourself nicely in your mind rather than overwhelming and yelling at yourself because you did certain things wrong, or you didn't eat completely right one day, or it becomes way too much of a job rather than something that you want to be doing.
Yeah, that's really important that you had just actually said that, because earlier I had written down in my notes, I had to come down to the other room because of the connection, but I had that written down, toxic thoughts really can affect you negatively, even if you're doing the right things and being maybe a little obsessive about something. And it's important to always know, just do the best with what you have. If you don't have the healthiest food, have the healthiest choice, and allow yourself that room to kind of say, whatever, it is what it is. It's not every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you brought that up. And we actually do have another show coming on. We extended mine because of the time thing tonight. So I want to thank you guys both so much for coming on. I wanted to actually do this again, if you would be wanting to.
Of course.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And remember, you're listening to On the Wake Up Radio. This is Truth, Freedom, and Sophia. You can catch us on otwtube.com. Sign up. It is an uncensored website.